Good evening. Hi, this is Christine Crow here. And in 2008, I lost almost everything. I was really running a business, a care business, delivering high quality care. Yet I couldn't survive. Why? Why is that? I was running quality care, but yet I couldn't survive. I had a big office, I had 3 offices, I had a team full of staff in the offices as well as those in the field delivering the most exceptional care. But why? Not because that I was providing bad care. It wasn't that at all. Not because of poor management either. It was because the local authority stopped paying me on time. Can you imagine having invoices that were 6 months outstanding and not being paid for it? Because at that time there wasn't a law that they must pay within a certain time frame. And looking back, I understand, but I'm here to tell you so that you don't go through the same thing as what could happen to you. So the invoices, they piled up. Literally, I had invoices piled up. Plus, I had staff members basically ripping me off in the office. So staff wages, they needed to be paid. It was undisputable. They needed to be paid because they did the work. Fuel, gloves, PPE, all of this went up. I wasn't looking at the signs. They were hitting me in the face that a recession was here. But the NHS and the council delayed payments. Imagine 99% of your business. And I was offered new contracts at even lower rates. Because I signed a contract, I had to do the work. And they reduced my invoice by half and gave me 3 months notice that this was happening. So like I said, the invoices, they were piling up. Staff wages needed to be paid. Fuel, gloves, PPE, all of these things were going up. And it just seems like this is starting to show the same signals again right now. And if you're not prepared, you could lose your care business too. So I really want to explain to you that by having delayed payments of 6 months, and I was told at one point, if the invoices are more than 3 months old, then we don't have to pay you. That can't be right. That's not fair. And then to top it off, my rates had been reduced and it was in the small print. So do check your contract, your terms of business for this as well, because you need to be prepared for if this happens to you. So I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have a wad of cash in the bank that I could just pull out. Everything was being used because I was being delayed with payment. So I was constantly having to pull out the spare crisis money to meet the current need because I hadn't been paid, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be paid for that. I'm going to be paid for that soon. So let's look at it. The currency is devaluating and it's worsening. It's worsening like this today, for example. So councils, they really don't raise care rates in line with inflation. They really don't. They can't afford to. Anyway, I understand that now because, obviously it's coming out of the public purse. So they can't afford to raise the rates, even when it's an inflation. Check your contracts out. Is there something there that says we will raise your rates when inflation rises? Check your contracts. Imagine you're providing thousands and thousands upon hours of work, for example. So this is the reason why you shouldn't just rely solely on one contract, whether it's a public contract or whether it is with a care home, for example. because this is dangerous in a recession. It's dangerous at most times anyway, never mind a recession. So let's look at some solutions that can help you. Diversify your income stream. So you've got equal amounts. Private paid clients, care homes, home care, for example. And what other services can you provide? Training. Provide training services. Think of other things that you can provide as a safety net. So look at this. Gold and silver stacking can be your back-in fund. It can be your backup fund. I didn't know this, even though I did gold and silver in 2007. Because I was so busy running my care business, I wasn't thinking about that time when I did really well. And like I said, I kept pulling from that to pay for the bills that kept coming in before I'd actually been paid for that actual bill that I paid the staff members for. So can you imagine you're growing weekly and yet you've invoiced the month previously and you've grown? So you can imagine what that does to your cash flow. You can imagine what that does to your safety net. You're constantly pulling out your safety net money.